Hello, everyone. Good evening. How are you doing? Can you hear me, all of you? Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to this session where we are going to discuss front-end system design and also interview preparation tips for any system design round related to front-end. Okay. So welcome, everyone. Please let me know if you can see me, if you can hear me. I see we have a good number of people watching. Okay, I'm starting to get responses. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this session. Thanks a lot for joining us on a Saturday evening. It is so. Thank you for joining on the weekend. Well, how are you doing, everyone? How are you doing? How is your preparations going on? For everyone, students who are students of Geekster or not students of Geekster. Everything is fine, sir. Good evening. Okay, great. Is it compulsory to learn JavaScript before TypeScript? Okay. Is it compulsory? No. Will it be good if you join? Yes, or absolutely. Anyway, how is everybody doing? I see that a good number of people are attending this session. Okay. How are you doing, everyone? How is the preparation going on? How is your studies going on? Is this a recording session? No, this is not a recorded session. You see, I am answering your questions live. Great, great. Okay, good to see people replying. Welcome again, everybody. Welcome to this session. We will be discussing front-end system design. I'll tell you what is system design overall, what is system design on the front-end side, and how will this session help you in interview preparation. We'll cover everything, all the aspects of it. Okay. So in system design, today we are going to focus on the front-end part, the front end of a web application. Okay. And also we will cover what would people ask or what would companies ask you normally in interviews related to system design. Okay. And also we are not going to talk about any one particular system, but I'll give you a good idea on how you can design any system. If you have to design something like Amazon, Flipkart, like an e-commerce application, or if you have to design a movie booking app like Book My Show, or if you have to design a food delivery app like Zomato or Swiggy, or say a social media app like Facebook, or a cab booking app, right, like Ola or Uber. So we will cover system design in detail, okay? And I'll give you a very generic way of how you can design any application, any website, okay? And we'll focus on interview preparation tips as well, and we'll focus on all the general knowledge, all the common patterns, all the important factors that you should have in mind whenever you are designing any high class system. Okay, so the idea is high class system. Any high class app that you have to design, you can design using the technique that we'll discuss today. Or what is the process that you should follow while you have to design any system. Okay. I hope this answers your question. What do we learn in system design? I'm working in Excel technologies in infra domain. Can I join the course? Yes, you can definitely join the course, Hassan. Cool. Tell me a best way to learn JavaScript with detail. Okay, we'll discuss that some other time, Mahant. 4 year of graduation, please suggest me how to get a job in IT field. They will discuss all of these things in detail towards the end of the course. Okay. So cool, everyone. Let's start. So let's talk about the agenda of today's session, what all we'll do in today. So yeah, I'll start with my introduction, my self-introduction. Then I'll tell you the purpose of this section. Why are we even learning system design? Why is system design so important? So we'll talk about that. We'll address that first so that you know that why is system design so important that we have a separate session for it. Okay. Then we will talk about what is system design, what exactly is system design. Okay. Um, uh, we will talk about its complications. Okay. And then we will discuss front-end system design in detail, what all things we have in system design. Okay. And next we'll discuss about how to design applications like Flipkart, any e-commerce application like Flipkart, any food delivery app like Zomato, a movie booking app like Book My Show, all of these things. Okay. And then we'll discuss any interview tips for front-end system design rounds. Okay, so all of these things are in our session's agenda, everyone. So let's start. Let me quickly give you my introduction. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Vikas Ranjan. I'm currently working as a senior software engineer at Coinbase. Before Coinbase, I was working with Zomato as a technical lead. And before Zomato, I worked with Expedia. Okay. In total, I have about 7.5 years of experience. I am a technical educator for about 2.5 years now. I have taught more than 3,000 students. Most of them are working for one of the top companies now. Apart from this, if you ever want to reach out to me, you can reach out to me on my LinkedIn or Instagram. Okay, I've shared my LinkedIn URL and my Instagram username, so you can reach out to me there. Cool, let's move on. Let's talk about the front-end system design, okay? So first part is why system design? Why is system design so important? Okay. So first of all, system design rounds are very important to get a good job in the product-based companies. Okay. And this system design rounds are asked, in fact, nowadays they are asked in almost all the big companies. Okay. All the big companies and even all the big startups. So if you are aiming a job or if you are aiming a role at one of these top product-based companies, okay, you should be good at system design. Okay. The importance of system design increases as you gain more experience. Okay. So for experienced candidate, it is more important. But even for freshers, it is very important to have some understanding of system design. Okay. However, if you are like, say, 3 years experience, the importance would be more. The level of the questions in the interview would be tougher. Okay, they will expect you to know a lot more. If you have 6 to 7 years experience, the level or the expectations would be higher. If you have 10 years of experience, the expectation would be higher. Okay, so the more experience you have, the complications of a system design round increases. Okay. And all the top product-based companies, like any man company or any top product-based company or top product startup, all of them have a system design round as a part of their hiring process. Okay, but in spite of the demand of this round, very few people actually understand what system design is. Okay, also it is so important in your day-to-day work as well. Like if you know system design, it will help you in your day-to-day development activity also. You'll be able to become a good developer. Okay. And obviously it will help you in cracking developer interviews. Okay. Many people know different things, but they don't know how to answer the questions in interviews. Okay. So that is also very important. Not just knowing system design, but how should you approach a system design problem? What should you say first, then second, then third? So what should be the course of action in the interview? That is also very important. Because remember, usually interviews are about 60 minutes long, right? In that 60 minutes also, we waste about 5 to 10 minutes in introduction and other questions, right? So in almost 45 to 50 minutes, you have to design an application, right? So this is not a very easy job, everyone. In about 45 minutes, if you have to design an application, something like Zomato or Flipkart or Amazon or Ola, Uber, anything like that, it is not very simple. So you should know in what uh, in what order you should start answering the questions, on what order you should approach the problem. Cool. Let's move on. In this session, we will also discuss the most critical aspects of system design, focus around the front end part of web application. So we'll not talk about the backend today. We'll have a separate session for backend system design, probably after 2 or 3 weeks. Okay. We'll also discuss what are some of the answers that you could give, or some of the questions that is generally asked in system design interviews. Okay. And as I said, the session would be helpful for experienced or working professionals who are looking to improve their skills. And the session will also be helpful for freshers who are looking for a job in one of the top product-based companies. Cool. So I hope with this, the expectation is clear on what to expect and what not to, what will happen in the next 1 hour. Okay. So on that note, let's start talking about what exactly is system design. Okay. So system design, see, somebody tells you design, how will you design an application like Flipkart? How will you design an application like Book My Show or Zomato? Okay. So basically you have to create the entire application. Okay. So if you have to create something as big as Flipkart or Zomato or Book My Show or Ola, Uber, right? There are a lot of things that are happening in, or that there are a lot of components that are there inside that single application, right? It is a huge application. So many people, like millions of people are using it, right? Hundreds and thousands of people are employed by those companies, right? So obviously these companies have a very big technical infrastructure. Now, obviously we cannot create as big infrastructure as that, right? In a 45-50 minutes, but we have to talk about the most important components, okay, or the high level architecture, and, and the different components, the interfaces, the data that is required to create the system. Okay. So the process of designing the architecture, components, and the interfaces for a system so that it meets the end user requirements. Okay. So whatever are the requirements for that application, if you have to meet the requirements, then what is the architecture, what are the components, what are the interfaces, what is the data, everything that you will everything, how will you design all of that? This is called system design. Okay. Now, while designing a system, all the decisions should take should account some very important factors. Okay. Factors like scalability. What is scalability? So suppose you make a website that is, or an application, okay, that is working fine for like 5 orders or 10 orders in a day. Okay. But suddenly hundreds of thousands of people start using it. Okay. Or you start getting thousands of orders in every minute. Then do you have a proper infrastructure so that your application is able to handle so much of traffic or not? So this is an example of scalability. Okay. Similarly, if you have an e-commerce application which only has 10 or 100 products, so your website is working absolutely fine, very smooth. But suppose you have 10 lakh products or 100 lakh products. Okay. Does your application still work fine or not? That is an example of scalability. Okay. So with the increase in traffic or increase in products, is your application still working fine or not? That is an example of scalability. What is reliability? Reliability is some user is making a payment on your application, and say the payment is failing maximum times. Okay. And users are losing their money. So your application is not reliable, right? Similarly, users have given you important data like their email, their phone number. So that data is not getting leaked anywhere. Data is not getting hacked by any external factor, right? So yours, if this is happening, your system is not reliable. Okay. Availability, you do not say that, okay, the system will be down for this to this time. Your system should be available if your user is trying to use it in the morning, afternoon, evening, late night. Anytime the system should be available, the system should be working. And maintainable, you should be able to do regular changes and improve your application from time to time, right? So whenever you are designing your system, you should keep all of these important factors in mind. The system should be scalable, reliable, available, and maintainable. Okay. So I hope everybody's clear on what is system design. Okay. Now, whenever you are trying to design a system, usually we follow one of these two approaches. Okay. One is a top-down approach and one is a bottom-up approach. Okay. What is a top-down approach? Top-down approach means you have been given the problem. Okay. You know the problem statement, you know what you have to build. And you start by building the most fundamental part first. Okay. You start by building, you start from a high level. Okay. That, okay, I will have these 1, 2, 3, 4 things. And then you start going in detail about everything. Okay. So you start talking about the high level things first, and then you start going into the details. Okay. The bottom up approach is that you talk about the important pieces in detail first, and then you talk about all the other components. Okay. So one is you start from the top, from high level to low level. One is from a low level to high level. So generally I use and I recommend using a top-down approach. Okay. Because again, the one problem is that we have very less time in an interviews. Usually we get only 45 to 50 minutes to explain this entire architecture. Okay. So if we go from a top-down approach, I feel that we can cover a lot more things. And this gives the interviewer an idea that, okay, this candidate knows about so many things. Okay. And later on, if the interviewer wants you to focus on any one part, then you can get into the low level details of that part. Okay. So start with the, I would recommend the top down approach. Okay. Start with the high level details first. Okay. Talk about all the important pieces in the application. And then if the interviewer wants, you can go into low level details. Cool. I hope this makes sense. Let's move forward. So yeah, we'll discuss the front-end system design in detail now. So whenever you have to, whenever you have to create any application, okay, whenever you have any system design problem or problem statement, the first thing that you should do, okay, the first thing that you need to do is called requirements gathering. Okay, you need to understand what exactly are you building. Okay, so write down all the features. If somebody says design something like Zomato, okay, so obviously Zomato has so many features as of today, right? We cannot design all those features in these 50 minutes. So we will not design, we will not start designing everything from of Zomato, right? We'll talk about some of the major requirements, main features that Zomato has. Okay. Similarly, if somebody asks you to design say something like Amazon or Flipkart, again, you cannot, Amazon and Flipkart has a lot of features, right? So you cannot design everything like that. So you will list down the important points, okay, the important functionalities, the important features that they have. Okay. They are of two types. These requirements can be functional requirements and non-functional requirements. We will discuss them in detail. Okay. But the most important part and the first part is the requirement gathering. You should know, you should write down what you are trying to build. So write down that, okay, I will build this feature, this feature, this feature, this feature, this feature. Okay. So first of all, why this is important? Because that is the most important part, or that is the first step to build a software. Before you are designing or building a software, you should know what exactly are you building. Okay. So that is the first thing. Also, requirement gathering is a very positive sign that this developer understands business requirements. Okay. Somebody who understands business requirements is more likely to be a good developer also. Okay. Because he will be able to design features according to the requirement of the business, according to the requirement of the customer. Okay. He will be able to improve customer experience. So that's why requirement gathering is a very, very important step. Okay, you might have studied software engineering as a part of your curriculum, everyone. So even in software engineering, requirement gathering is the first step, right? So talk about the requirement or the feature that you will build in your website, in your application. Okay. The second step is called prioritization. Okay. Suppose you have listed down 20 features. Okay. But again, in that 45 minutes of time, you probably cannot talk about all the 20 features. So tell the interviewer that, okay, I am going to focus on these 8 or 10 features out of the 20. So prioritize the most important 10 features in the list of items. Okay, and then talk about those 10 features only. Okay, if you have time later on, then talk about the other features, but prioritize the most important parts. Okay, now the prioritization could be on basis of multiple factors. It could be the most important business requirement, right? For example, if you're trying to create something like Amazon or Flipkart, then obviously a product list is a very important part, or searching and sorting of product is very important, right? Adding to a cart is very important, right? Giving the address is very important. Um, uh, Making the payment is very important. Placing the order is very important. If any of this is missing, the user will not be able to order, right? If the user is not able to enter address, how will they order? Anybody orders because they want the item at their place, right? So if the user is not able to add address, they will not be able to place an order. If the user is not able to make payment, they will not be able to place an order. So these things are like the most important things in a e-commerce application. Okay, but you also have a feature like a coupon code, right? Or you can enter your delivery date and it will tell you, you can enter your pin code and it will tell you the delivery date. So these features are not very essential features. Okay, even if a coupon code is not there, user will still be able to order. Okay, you can add the coupon code feature after a week. Okay, even if you are not able to tell the exact delivery date to the customer will still be able to place an order, right? So these things are not the basic things, the most essential things. So first you should prioritize the most essential things of the application. Okay, so when you prioritize the most essential thing in terms of business, in terms of customer experience, and then prioritize the other things. Or you can also prioritize the most technically challenging things. Okay, for example, a real-time tracking could be a very challenging thing. Okay, so you can prioritize that because that is technically challenging to implement. In a social media application, a live chat is a technically challenging thing. How will you implement a live chat? You may send a message to somebody answers you back. It is all live, right? Somebody is typing, you get the notification that X is typing, right? So all of these things are technically challenging. Cool. So first we collect the requirement, then we do the prioritization. The third thing should be talk about your tech choices. Tech choices, I think, what languages will you use to build this application? Okay. What framework will you use to build this application? Okay. So all the tech stack that you will be using. Okay. Languages like, okay, I'll be using JavaScript, but which framework of JavaScript, which library, whether I'll be using React or Angular or Vue.js. Okay. If you are using React, then you can talk about what else you will be using. For CSS, will I use normal CSS or SCSS or style components or React JSS? Okay. If you want a store, will you be using Redux or Mobex or any other store? If you are using Redux, will you use a middleware like Redux Saga or not? So there are a lot many things that can happen here. Okay. So all the technologies, all the libraries, all the framework that you will be using to build the application, talk about that. And also you should have a valid reason. Why do you choose React? Just because saying कि मुझे React आता है, I know only React is not enough, right? You should give a valid reason why am I choosing React over other languages, over other libraries. So you should have some knowledge about what is good in React that is not there in other languages, okay, in other frameworks. Okay, cool. Just a quick check. Are you all with me? Are you all getting what we are discussing till now? Please reply in the chat, everyone. Yes or no, are you able to follow what we are discussing? Waiting for your response. Okay, other people, please start replying. Or you're able to understand what we are discussing. Okay. I only see very few responses till now. Awesome. Good. Good. Thank you so much. So we'll keep doing this check, okay, throughout this class. Cool. So now we know about the tech choices, the framework, and the tech stack. So these 3 points are clear to us. Once we have talked about our tech choices, the next thing that we'll talk about is the component architecture. Okay. Component architecture as in, so if you have to build, suppose you build something like a Flipkart or Amazon, okay, what are the components that you will use? Okay. So what are the components that you will be using? Okay. So for example, in something like an Amazon, okay, or Flipkart, okay. So you have a header, you have a footer, okay, you have a section where you see the list of products, you have a section where you see the image slider, okay, you have a section of filters, you have a section of cart. There are so many major components throughout the application, right? So what are the important components that you will build in your application? Okay, everything we will cover. What are the main components that you will build? How will you share data between these components? Okay, all of these things you need to discuss, you need to explain. Okay, don't talk about very basic components, talk about the high level components. Okay, the high level components as in what are the most important components in the application. Okay, then if the interviewer asks, then you can talk about the detailed components also, but first you should talk about the high level components. Okay, so you have done the requirement gathering, you have done the prioritization. Prioritization is only used for client requirements. No, prioritization is for anything, right? We are talking about we're talking about system design round here, right? So if you have to talk about if you have to design an application like Flipkart or Amazon, and you have to discuss that in 50, 45, 50 minutes, you cannot talk about all the features. You can talk about only some of the important features. Okay, so you will prioritize that, okay, I will talk about these 10 features in the interview. Okay. Many times what happens is if you are going on the right track, okay, if you are going on the right track, then people or the interviewer gives you some extra time to complete the problem statement. Okay, sometime, or in some cases, the interviewer faces that, no, this person has already answered most of the important parts. So I am satisfied. Let's go ahead and end the interview. Okay. So after you've talked about the component architecture, the fifth thing that you can talk about is the folder structure. Okay. So कौन से folders create करोगे? What are the folders that you will create? Okay. What will the convention that you will use? The convention to create a file, to create a folder. How will you name any file or folder? Okay. There are many ways to do it. We will discuss that in detail. Okay. We'll discuss them one by one. Cool. The sixth thing that you should talk about after the folder structure is the APIs. Okay. So APIs is mostly developed on the backend. Okay. The backend developer creates the APIs, but it is consumed by the front-end developer, right? It is called by the front-end developer. So that is why APIs are important for the front-end as well. So you should talk about the API that, okay, to create this application, what are the APIs you need? For example, in an e-commerce application, you need an API to get the list of products, right? Suppose I select mobile phones. So I need an API to get the list of mobile phones. Suppose I select mobile phones and the brand as Samsung. So then I need an API to give me the list of mobile phones of only Samsung brand, right? So what are all the APIs I need? I need an API to log into the application, to register to the application, right? I need an API to get the list of addresses, okay, or to save a new address. Many things, to place a new order. So everything should have an API. So to create this kind of application, what are the APIs do we need? That we'll talk about. Okay. And seventh is the low level implementation. Low level implementation means the interviewer may tell you that, okay, let's talk about the payment part in detail, or let's talk about the chat part in detail. Okay, and let's talk about the delivery part in detail. Okay, so these things are lower level details. Okay, so if the interviewer asks you, then you can talk about these parts in detail. Okay, one part in detail. What are the components you will design? How will you store the data? Okay, how will the components share data among themselves? How will you make the API call? All of these things you can discuss then. Cool. What are the full form of API? The API is full form is, I think, application programming interface. So basically, when the front end wants some data from the back end, okay. So when the front end wants some data from the back end, the front end makes a call to the back end, okay, and the back end answers it. Okay, that can give the data in that answer. Okay. You might have heard about REST APIs or RESTful APIs. Okay, REST is a way of creating APIs. Okay. About APIs, a lot of details you can know in the backend system design round. Okay. Cool. Once you have covered all of these aspects, then you can also talk about other important aspects in the application. Okay, if you have time, you can talk about this also. If you talk about this, it will be very, very helpful for you. Okay, other important aspects like performance improvement. What will you do to improve the performance of your application? Okay, how can you make your application faster? How can even if a lot of users are using your application or there is a lot of data on the application, still, how can your application performance be good? Okay. Second thing is you can talk about security. Security as in, how will you make sure that your website cannot be accessed or cannot be hacked? Okay, your application cannot be is safe to use. Okay, you are not, somebody is not hacking into the system and taking the user data. Okay, or some unauthorized person is able to see the page. Okay, like I am unauthorized to see your data, right? I cannot log into your profile and see your data. How are we ensuring these things? Okay, so security on a front-end application and a back-end application are very different. On front-end, there are only 2-3 things that we should keep in mind. So we'll discuss about the security aspects in detail later on. Okay. The next thing is called accessibility. Okay, accessibility is a very, very important feature, and unfortunately, it is very less talked about in industries or in applications. Okay, accessibility means how can people with some disabilities also use your application? Okay. So if there are people who have some sort of physical disability, they should also be able to use your application. Okay. For example, if somebody has some disability and they cannot use the mouse, your application should be keyboard accessible. They should be able to run using keyboard, using the tab key, using the enter key, using the arrow keys. Similarly, the colorblind people should also be able to read and understand what is there. Okay. So similarly, people who are like completely blind, they should be able to hear what is there in your website. There are softwares called screen readers, okay, which will read everything from the website. Okay. So your application should be screen reader friendly. Okay. If there is a photo, a picture, an image on your website, screen readers cannot read that image. They can read text, but they cannot read images. So how will you make sure that Even screen readers can read the image. What are the small changes that you will do? Okay. So these all things come under accessibility. So how will you make your application accessible? This is a front end part. Okay. Next thing is called logging and monitoring. Okay. This is very, very important for experienced people, as in if you have developed an application. Okay. But obviously sometimes the application, it happens everywhere. Something might happen and your application might not be working properly. There might be some errors. Okay. So how will you log those errors? How will you track those errors? How will you make sure that your application is always running smoothly? ठीक है. तुम हर वक्त 24 घंटे जगे तो रहोगे नहीं, उस एप्लीकेशन को देखते तो रहोगे नहीं, right? You will not be awake and continuously be monitoring the application manually all the 24 hours a day, all the 7 days a week, right? All the 365 days an year. You won't be able to do it. Nobody will be able to do it. So you should have systems in place, okay? And whenever something goes wrong, that system should alert you. Okay. So we have many such systems. If suppose generally I get say 1000 orders in an hour. Generally I get 1000 orders in an hour. Okay. So if something is wrong, I might be getting very less orders. Okay. Or if something is wrong, in some cases, we also start getting fake orders, very high orders when somebody is trying to hack us. Okay. So in both of these cases, we should, if we have a proper monitoring system in place, a proper alerting system in place, it will send me a phone call and it will tell me over a phone call that something is wrong in this service. Please check it. Okay. Or if I am getting some errors in the code, my customer are seeing some errors in the code, the error will be so much that again the system will make a phone call or it will inform me on Slack or some other tool, on email, anywhere. Okay, there are multiple tools I can configure it with. And we can alert that and we can monitor that. Okay. And fifth part, important aspect, is also called testing. Testing as in, how will you make sure that your application is testable? Okay. So whether we want to write unit tests in the application, okay, whether we want to write automated tests in the application, okay, so that whenever we are making any changes, we should be able to run the test and see that everything is working fine or not. Okay. So how will you test your application? Usually we do unit testing and automation testing. Okay. So unit testing is what usually the developer writes. So whenever you are creating a function, okay, or a component, you should write a test for that function also, for that component also. Okay. That if there is a function, if you give any number to that function, it returns the square of that number. So how will you test it? You will give a dummy number. Suppose you give 5 to that function. Okay. And then you will expect that the output should be equal to 25. If the output is not 25, then it means there is something wrong with the function. If the output is 25, that means that the function is running fine. Okay. So this is what is called unit testing. What is automation testing? Automation testing is usually what a tester writes. So I hope you all know that in software, in IT field, we have a developer and a tester, a QA, right? So in tester roles also, we have a manual testing role or a manual QA role and an automation testing or an automation QA role. So an automation QA usually writes automation testing, okay, where they will write code so that the code can automatically run the website. Okay. It will open a page and it will check, okay, that the heading of the page should be welcome to Flipkart. Okay. The page should display 10 products. Okay. Something like that. So the code automatically tests everything and it gives a final report that, okay, I tested so many things and 9 out of 10 things are working fine. Okay. So again, this is a way of automation testing. And automatically your website gets tested. Okay, so this saves a lot of time and effort. Cool. So apart from the 7 points that we discussed earlier, these are also 5 important points: performance improvement, security, accessibility, logging and monitoring, and testing, that you could talk about in the system design round. But this should be covered after those 7 points. Okay. Did not get low level design. No worries. We will discuss that later. How to handle traffic load balancing in Android app or website. So load balancing is a infrastructure challenge, is a backend challenge. So Mitesh will discuss that in one of the next sessions of system design when we are discussing backend system design. Okay. Today we will stick to front-end system design. Cool. So everybody, now you have, I hope you all have understood that those 7 points, okay, these 7 points, these 5 plus 6 and 7, these 7 points are the most important points. So you will first talk about these 7 points, then you will talk about these 5 points. Okay. If you have talked about all these 7 plus 5 points, you have almost completed all the aspects of an application. Okay. And I would recommend that talk about all of these things in the same order. Okay. This is mostly the most important or the most critical things. And so the most critical thing is we are talking about it first, then we are talking about the lesser critical things. Okay. This is usually a a top-down approach. Cool. Everybody's with me until here. Now we'll discuss about all these 12 points in detail. So just give me a quick reply. Everybody is with me until here. Okay, great. Great. Thank you, everyone. Cool. So now we will be talking about requirements gathering. Okay. So as I told you, requirements gathering is of two types. One is functional requirement. Okay. What is functional requirement? Okay. So in this part, first talk about the functionalities or the requirement that you want to implement in the application. Okay. What are the features that you will develop in the application? So first of all, we will talk about these things. Okay. So the interviewer has given me the problem statement. Okay. I will tell the interviewer that, sir, I will talk about all these 12 aspects. Okay. Let's now start with the functional requirements, the requirements. So in the requirements, I will tell the interviewer that, sir, first we will start with the functional requirements. Okay. Now, what are the functional requirements? Let's talk about it. Okay. So functional requirements, let's suppose I have the problem statement that I have to design something like Amazon or Flipkart. Okay. So if you understand, in Amazon or Flipkart, we have a customer or a user interface like you or I. When we use Amazon, we are a customer of Amazon, like we are a user of Amazon. Okay. Similarly, so Amazon has a customer or a user interface. Amazon also has a merchant interface, right? Merchant or a seller interface. Obviously, because even a merchant is using Amazon to sell their products. If you think about it, every delivery boy is also using Amazon, right? And I don't know if you all know or not, but all these different people have different apps. Okay. A merchant has a different app where they can log in, they can create their account and they can add their products. Okay. They can see the orders, they can see how much they have earned, all of these things. Okay. Then delivery boys or delivery partners, let's write, delivery partners have another app where they see that, okay, today I have to deliver these 3 packages. Okay. And this package has to be delivered at this address. This package has to be delivered at that address. Okay. So delivery partners have a different app. Okay. Some of you might have seen that also. Or when a delivery boy comes to your house, you can ask them, okay, or you can see what is the app that they are using. It's not the regular Amazon app that you use. Okay. Similarly, if we talk about, let's talk about Zomato. Okay. Zomato or Swiggy. So in Zomato or Swiggy, again, what we use is a customer or a user interface, right? Similarly, in Zomato or Swiggy also, we have a merchant interface. Basically, it is the restaurant owner. Okay. So when you order something, suppose you have ordered something from Haldiram's in Karol Bagh. So the owner of the owner of Haldirams in Karol Bagh has a different app. Okay. They will get a notification that you have got a new order of 2 plate chole bhature from this user. Okay. So the restaurant and the merchants of every app, if you go to some restaurants, you will see that yeah, they are using a tablet or a mobile phone or a laptop. Okay. They are constantly using it. Why? Because they get a lot of orders from Zomato or Swiggy. Okay. So that's why they also use a tablet or mobile phone or a laptop all the time, because so that whenever they get a new order, they get notified about it. So they will get a notification that, okay, there's a new order of 2 plate chole bhature, then they will start making that item. Okay. Similarly, Zomato or Swiggy also has delivery partners. Say if a delivery partner, if suppose I placed an order, okay, the restaurant got a notification. At the same time, a delivery partner also gets a notification, okay, that you have to deliver a new order, go to collect it from Haldirams in Karol Bagh and deliver it to say Vikas in Connaught Place. Okay, so there is a separate app for delivery partners also. Cool. Similarly, now if you talk about Ola or Uber, in Ola or Uber, again, a customer or user has an app where we book a cab, and a rider or a driver also has another app. Whenever they get a ride, they have to accept the ride. Okay, they accept the ride there. Okay, or they need to enter the OTP to start the ride. Okay, then they end the ride and they show what is the amount that they have got. Right, what is the final amount of this ride? So if I'm pretty sure whoever has used an Ola or Uber, you would have seen this app on the driver's mobile phone, right? Everybody, I hope you have seen that. So this is a separate app, right? So if you see, for Flipkart, there are 3 different type of apps, right? Zomato, again, there are 3 different type of apps. Ola, Uber, again, there are 2 different type of apps. Also, usually, there is another app also, which is called an admin app. Okay. There is usually an admin app also, an admin who can control things for all the other users. Okay. Also, there is a customer care app also. So the customer care employees also have a different app. Okay. So where they can see all the details. So again, all these applications have these apps. Okay. So you can see that if you have to design something like Flipkart or Amazon, you actually have to create 5 different applications. Talking about 5 different applications in a 45-50 minutes time in an interview is not possible, right? So you can tell the interviewer that I will be focusing on the customer part only. Okay. Unless the interviewer wants you to focus on something else. If the interviewer says that no, focus on the seller part, focus on the restaurant owner part, focus on the delivery boy part, focus on the rider app part. Okay. Then it is a separate thing. Okay. But usually we can tell the interviewer that I will only be focusing on the customer part. Okay. Or I will be only focusing on mainly on the customer part and some features of the merchant part. Okay. So this is called requirement gathering. Okay. So I talked about all the different things that are possible, but then I tell him that no, in this interview, I will only talk about the customer part. Okay. Now within the customer part, what are the requirements that we have? Okay. Low level design handle for front end, right? High level for bracket. No, that is not true. Low level and high level, that is not the meaning of low level and high level. High level means you are not going into the detail. Okay. If suppose for a prime minister, right? For a prime minister, there are so many departments in the cabinet, right? So the prime minister, if they want to know how is the finance ministry doing or how is the health ministry doing, they will not go into the details to see each and every file of health ministry and finance ministry. They will only get a high level summary report from the health minister or the finance minister. Okay. So this is high level information. What is low level information? Suppose the finance minister themselves or the finance secretary, okay, the IAS who is responsible for the finance department, okay, that officer or that minister will go into every small detail. Okay, they will talk about all, they will look up into detail into all the schemes of the government, all the money that came, where was the money spent, okay, who are the people working on these schemes. Okay, so when they see into a lot of small details, that is called low level detail. Okay, so high level details mean only talking about the main thing from a high level. Okay, lower level means going into detail into one particular topic. Cool, I hope this is clear for everyone. Okay, coming back to our example. Cool. So suppose we have Flipkart and Amazon. Okay, so how will we write the requirements for it? Okay, so the requirements, I have given a simple example, okay, of what could be the requirement for Flipkart or Amazon. So we are talking about the customer interface. Okay, so we are saying that, okay, users should be able to go to home page and see some categories and offers going on, obviously. So let's see Flipkart here. So when you go to the homepage of Flipkart, you see there is all these categories over here. The latest offers that are going on are here, right? So all of these things are there. Many products are there, right? So this is a minimum requirement that should be there on every website, on every e-commerce application. Next thing is users should be able to see product of any category. So yes, if I go to mobiles and tablets, it will show me a lot of products within mobiles and tablets, right? So this is again a basic requirement of any website. Then users should be able to search and filter products using its brand, price, etc. So if I want to search, I can search Apple iPhone, right? So it shows me many products of Apple iPhones. So I'm able to search, I can apply some filters here. Filter could be of price. Okay, so that show me only from 0 to 30,000. Okay, or 0 to cool. So I can change this prices filters. So I can put any filter of brand, I can put a filter of rating, I can put a filter of how much memory I want. So all of these filter requirements are also a minimum requirement for any e-commerce website. I think so. Okay. Then user should be able to add items to cart. Obviously, I can click an item and I can add it to cart. Okay. I should be able to check if the item is deliverable in my area or not. So I go to Apple iPhone 13. Okay, and then I enter my delivery area 122017 and I check if it is deliverable in my area. So it says yes, it is delivered and it will be delivered by 12th October. In 4 days, it will be delivered. Okay. So user should be able to log into the application. User should be able to register in the application, obviously, basic requirement. User should be able to apply coupons in the cart. So when you go to the cart, okay, you see what items are there. For example, let's go to here. So this is a cart usually, right? This is a cart, okay, where if only logged in users can see the cart, and here in the cart, you can see what items are there, and then you can apply coupons also here. Okay. Then users should be able to add a new address, edit or delete addresses. Okay. Users should be able to select different address for shipping and billing. Okay. Users should be able to select multiple options for payment mode. How do you want to make the payment? Okay. User should be able to choose the delivery date and time. Okay. That okay, only deliver in the evening. Okay. Morning I am in the office, so don't deliver in the morning. Evening mein deliver karo. User should be able to place an order. Finally, users should have real-time tracking of their order. So I can, this is Zomato ke case mein, I have real-time tracking. Okay. I can see exactly in the map where the delivery boy is. The user should be able to edit their profile details, right? So these are some requirements that I have written. Okay, the developer has written. So you should be observing these applications nicely. Okay. That, okay, some of these top 10, 15 applications, you should observe them nicely. And you should think carefully of what are the most basic requirements. So this you have to write. Okay. This is requirement gathering. So I wrote that ठीक है मेरे Amazon में जो I will create उसमें ये 15 features होंगे, ये 14 features होंगे. Similarly, I can have features for the merchant interface also. But I don't want to focus on merchant interface. So I will tell the interviewer that I will only be focusing on the customer interface. Okay. Most cases में, most cases में the interviewer will be fine with this. Or they will ask you that no, I want you to focus on the merchant interface. तो फिर merchant के लिए same इसी तरह से requirement gathering करेंगे. ठीक है? So everybody has understood what is requirement gathering. Now let's talk about prioritization. So I have these 14 features. It is difficult for me to talk about these 14 features in 45 minutes. Okay. So I will say that no, I will not develop this all 14 features. I will prioritize features. So I will see feature one, is it important? Yes, this is important. There should be a home page. Okay, so isko I will mark as green. User should be able to see product list. Yes, important. Green. User should be able to search and filter products. Important hai, mark as green. Add items to cart. Important hai, mark as green. User should be able to check if item is deliverable in their area. I don't think it is very important. Okay. I don't think it is important. If let the user select the address and then I will tell them. Okay, I don't see it as very basic feature. So I will not prioritize this point. So let me mark this as red. Okay. User should be able to log in and register. Very important. User should be able to apply coupons in the cart. I don't see it as very important. So I will mark it as red. Okay. User should be able to add, edit, and delete address. Okay. I think add address is very important. Edit and delete, I don't see they are very important. I don't think. Okay. So I will only mark the add part in green. Rest of I will mark as red. User should be able to select different address for shipping and billing. I don't see it as very basic. ठीक है, इसको बाद में add कर सकते हैं. Whatever I am writing in red, we can talk about it later on. ठीक है, this is not a priority for me. Okay, so I'm marking them in red. User should be able to select between payment mode. Yes, very important. User should be able to choose the delivery time and slot. Now, this is not very important, right? In fact, you don't have this feature in most of these applications. Okay. So this is not very important. So I will mark it as red. User should be able to place an order. Yes. User should be able to get real-time tracking details. So again, this is not a very basic feature. We don't have real-time tracking in Amazon or Flipkart. Not very basic. I will mark it red. User should be able to edit their profile details. Yes. So if you notice, we had written 14 points, but 14 may 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 for us are not important. So we have marked 9 as important and the rest as not important, right? So what we'll do, we will finally create a priority list. So prioritize list of requirements. So I'm just copying all of the priorities here. Cool. So this for us is the priority. Okay. So we have now decided that I will only make these 9 points. So we will tell the interviewer that we will be focusing on these 9 points. Okay. Cool. So until here, is it clear for everyone how we wrote the requirements? Okay, how we created the priority. Until here, is it clear for everyone? Please give a hand. Please give a thumbs up. Sir, will you provide document? Yes, I will share both this PPT also and this requirement gathering document, both of this with you. Okay. Please, everybody reply in the chat. How many of you are with me till now? Awesome. Cool. Thank you. So if you remember, we have done the functional requirements. Okay. So this is the functional requirement, everybody. Okay. So we have discussed the functional requirement and we have also done the prioritization of the functional requirement. Okay. After the functional requirement, there is something else which is called non-functional requirement. Okay. And non-functional requirement is also very important. So you have to ask these questions from the interviewer. Okay. You have to tell the interviewer that, okay, these are the features that I'll be developing. Is it good with you? Are you on the same page? Okay. If the interviewer likes them, they will say yes. Okay. Otherwise, if the interviewer wants you to add more features, they will give you hints. Okay. They will give you hints on what other features they want. So try to include those other features also. Cool. Next part is the non-functional requirements. Okay. So you should ask the interviewer that which location are we targeting. Okay. Now, in many cases, you may wonder that why is the location so important? So in some cases, it may be a problem. Okay. Suppose your server, your systems are placed in India, but this website is for Australia. Okay. Then your application performance will be slow. Okay. Why? Because it will take a long time. Like the client is in Australia, the server is in India, so it will take a long time for the request to be processed. Okay. So your implementation may differ in that case. Okay. You may want to do something else. Okay. You may want to use a content delivery network, a CDN for storing the JavaScript or the CSS files or the images files. Okay. So location, you should ask the question that what is the location or which location are we supporting? Next question you should ask, which browsers are we supporting? Again, why it is important? Because we are discussing the front end part. Okay, right? So front end may be different. In many cases, you would have seen that in some browser, the application may be working fine. Okay, but in some cases, like suppose the website is working fine on Google Chrome, but it is not working fine in Internet Explorer or not working fine in Safari. Okay, so in some cases this may occur. So ask your interviewer that which browsers are we targeting? Are we targeting all browsers? So nowadays, most of the applications do not target Internet Explorer. They have removed support from Internet Explorer. Okay. So just ask which browsers are we supporting. If we have to support old browsers like Internet Explorer also, then we might have to do a few other things. Okay. So ask these questions from the interviewer. What location? What browser? Third question should be what devices are we supporting? Should it be a responsive website that will occur on laptop also, tablet also, mobile phone also, or we are only targeting laptop, only mobile phone? Okay. So ask this question. It is very, very important because based on the devices, you want to know what CSS will you use. Okay, will you use responsive CSS? Do you want to use will you write responsive CSS on your own, or will you use a framework like Bootstrap, like Semantic, like Material, like Tailwind. Okay. So whether you want to use any such platform or not. Okay, will it be a responsive website or not? Fourth thing could be what languages are we supporting? Okay. So you could have seen many websites, everyone. Okay. When you use the website, usually it opens in the English language, right? So most of the websites that we use today are in English language. Okay. But if you open the same website, suppose the same Amazon.com, if you use Amazon.in, if you use the suppose the same website in France, it would probably be Amazon.fr. So the language will not be English. It will be the language will be French there. Okay. Let's try if we can open it or not. So if we try to open Amazon.fr, see the language here is not English, right? Everybody can see the language is not English. The language here is French, but the application is the same. It is Amazon. Looks very, very similar, but it is Amazon website in French language. So if you also have to support these different languages, okay, if you have to develop a website that will be used in multiple countries and which has to be used in multiple languages, you will need to handle it separately. Okay, there is another way to use it. It is called localization. So the same website the design will be the same, but the text will be in different languages. If I open in India, it will be in English. If I open in France, it will be in French. If I open in Germany, it will be in German. If I open in Spanish, it will be in Spanish. If I open in Spain, right? So, so basically on the front end, right, you have to handle this. So ask this question every time from the interviewer. Okay. FR means country code, right? When we open Amazon.in, IN is for India, PK is for Pakistan, right? FR is for France. Cool. So I hope everybody understands why languages support is so important, right? Fifth point is scalability. You should ask the interviewer that if on the front end side, see the scalability for front end is different, back end is different. For backend, scalability usually means how many traffic will I have? Okay. How many traffic will the server have? 1 lakh people, 10 lakh people using at the same time. That is scalable from a backend perspective. From a front end perspective, scalability means how much data will I have on the website? Okay. Because for a front end, traffic does not matter because front end runs on the client side, on the client browsers. So there on one browser, only one website will open. Okay, people will not open 100 tabs of the same website. Does not make sense, right? So on front end scalability means how much data you have on the browser, on the website. So if it is an e-commerce application, will you have like 1 lakh products at the same time? If you have 1 lakh product at the same time, then your application can be slow on the front end. There will be a lot of data, a lot of product, a lot of JavaScript, a lot of event listeners. Okay. So then you should talk about how will you, even if you have 1 lakh product or 10 lakh product, how will you make the website smooth? How will you make the website fast? Okay. And then you should also ask the interviewer, are there any other requirement? Like you want me to follow any particular coding guideline? You want me to any other requirement for performance? That the interviewer will say, यार कि किसी भी हालत में तुम्हारे वेबसाइट को 3 सेकंड से ज्यादा नहीं लगना चाहिए लोड होने के लिए. Okay, the loading time should not be more than 2 seconds or 3 seconds. That could be a requirement. Okay, or how will you maintain your product so that even if there are 200 developers working in the time, still the code quality is good. So this is what the interviewer can ask you. Okay. So talk about these non-functional requirements. Ask these questions. Okay. Because based on the answers for these questions, your architecture will change. Okay. If the interviewer says that, "Nahi, I don't want a responsive website," then you don't have to worry about a lot of CSS. You don't have to worry about using Bootstrap or anything else. But if the interviewer says, No, I want a responsive website. So you will have to think about that, right? If the interviewer says, I want the website only in English, very good. You don't have to think about different languages. But if they say that, no, we need different languages support, then you will have to think about all of these things as well. Okay, makes sense, everyone? Please give me a thumbs up, everybody. So we have talked about functional requirement, non-functional requirement, and prioritization of requirements. Okay. Now let's move ahead. Cool, let's move ahead now. The next thing that we are going to talk about is called tech choices. Okay, what are the technologies that we will be using to create this application? Okay, what are the languages we'll use? What are the framework we'll use? Okay, let's talk about tech choices in detail. Cool. So usually everyone, let's write, okay, what are the tech choices that we usually keep. So first of all, let's talk about the languages. So obviously, we don't have much alternatives on the front end side. HTML will use, obviously, CSS will use, obviously. There comes a question whether we will use simple JavaScript or whether we will use TypeScript. Okay, this is an important question that comes. Okay, so you should all know what is JavaScript and what is TypeScript. Okay, again, if you are a fresher, to be very honest, even if you don't know TypeScript, it's not a very negative sign. Okay, but if you know TypeScript, it can be a positive sign. So usually, for any experienced person, I would recommend them to use TypeScript. What is TypeScript? What is the advantage of TypeScript over JavaScript? Okay, so basically TypeScript is like a big brother of JavaScript. Okay, TypeScript for me is like a big brother of JavaScript. All the features that JavaScript has are also there in TypeScript. Okay, so everything that JavaScript has, we have in TypeScript as well. But everything that TypeScript has, that is not there in JavaScript. So TypeScript has an additional advantage, okay, that it has dynamically typed variables. Okay, it means you can give data types to your variables. Okay, so this is a very important point in TypeScript. It reduces the number of errors. Okay, so if you know TypeScript, then you should use TypeScript. If you don't know TypeScript, then use JavaScript. ठीक है, don't bluff the interviewer कि बस कहीं से सुन लिया TypeScript and start saying TypeScript. Don't do that. Okay, don't bluff the interviewer. If you know TypeScript, then only use TypeScript because they might ask you some cross questions. Okay, so TypeScript, in JavaScript, how do you define a variable? You define something like a const num is equal to 5, right? Now, or const a is equal to 5. Now this a is, or you'll say let a is equal to 5. Now this a is 5, and then you can also do a is equal to same a equal. You can later do a is equal to Vikas, right? So this a was a number here, and now you have turned it into a string. But that you don't do in TypeScript. In TypeScript, every variable has a data type. So if something is a number, it will be a number. If something is a string, it will be a string. Okay, which is similar to other programming language. So I would recommend you to use TypeScript over here. Okay, so I'm marking this as green if you know TypeScript. Okay, so learn TypeScript before this. Cool. Next thing would be, okay, so languages with these languages. Now let's come to what are the frameworks that you will use. Okay. So HTML obviously, CSS obviously, and then JavaScript or TypeScript. Okay, then what frameworks we'll use? Okay, so frameworks, what are the options that you have? Frameworks, option that you have is React, you have Angular, you have Vue.js, right? You have many other frameworks, okay, that is there in the market right now. Okay, you have something called Next.js. Next.js can also be used with React, so you can write Next.js. Okay, so now next, with React you can write this. Okay, so now generally, how do you choose a framework? To be very frank, I feel that most of these frameworks can do the same thing. Okay, it's not that if Facebook is built in React, I cannot build Facebook in Angular. You know that Angular is created by Google and Google uses Angular for many applications, right? So again, all of these frameworks are good, to be very honest, and all of them can fulfill what you want. But I would prefer React here. Okay. Again, if you say that I would choose React, give suitable reasons for it. The reasons that I give is that React is the most popular. Okay. So popular से मुझे फायदा क्या होगा? It has strong community support. So if tomorrow you're building something and you get stuck, there are so many React developers in the world that you can get help easily. Okay, on Stack Overflow, on online forums, everywhere you can easily get people help. Okay. If you have, next thing is you are giving the interview for a team, right? So React choose करेंगे, उसका एक और फायदा ये होगा कि we can easily, because React is so popular, we can easily get more React developers, right? Tomorrow we will have to expand our team, right? We want to hire more people. So हम Vue.js use करेंगे तो Vue.js is not so popular. ठीक है, हो सकता है हमें इतनी इजीली टैलेंट नहीं मिलेगा अच्छा, बट रिएक्ट का टैलेंट हमें इजीली मिल जाएगा. So that is another reason that I will use React. Another thing is there are many libraries which are compatible with React. Okay. So if we want to use an external library, most of them are compatible with React. Okay. Another thing could be that if tomorrow, if we want to create mobile apps, कल को कंपनी डिसाइड करती है कि हमें वेबसाइट के साथ साथ मोबाइल एप्लीकेशन भी बनाना है. So in that case, we can use React Native, and React Native is very similar to React. So same developers can work on them. इससे कंपनी को क्या फायदा होगा कि सेम लोग वेबसाइट पे भी काम कर सकते हैं, मोबाइल ऐप पे भी काम कर सकते हैं, तो अलग से हायर करने की जरूरत नहीं है. Same developers can work on both, right? So these are very good to have benefits, right? Everybody agrees. These are good to have benefits. So I have given 4-5 points to the interviewer that these are the 4-5 reasons why I will use React. Okay. To be very honest, when people say that there is a lot of performance improvement, I do not feel so. If you use all of these frameworks in the correct way, all of them can do great. Okay. So I don't feel any major performance improvement and all, but I feel these are the biggest factors. Cool. Does it make sense, everyone? Are you with me? Yes or no, everyone? Awesome. Then there is something called a state management tool. Okay. So state management tool, I think you might have read about Redux. Okay. So basically when there are multiple components, how will they store data? Okay. So there's a component 1 and component 2. Okay. Suppose let's come to Flipkart. Okay. So if I am logged in on Flipkart, let's come to here on Amazon. So see, if I am logged in on Amazon, here it shows my name, right? Here also it shows my name. Okay. It might show my name somewhere below also. Okay. So the same data, this could be one component. Okay. This could be another component, but those two components are showing the same data. So how will they share data among themselves? Okay. So to share data among themselves, we usually use a state management tool, okay, or a data store. And in that, again, Redux is the most popular. Okay. It is very compatible with React. So I generally would prefer Redux. Okay. Then you can talk about what will you use for CSS. Okay. Library for CSS. Okay. Whether you will use basic CSS or whether you will use SCSS. Okay. Or whether you will use styled components in React. Okay. Or whether you will use React JSS. So there are many things like that. Okay. So whatever you want to choose, have a valid reason for it. Okay. If you don't know about all of these things, being a fresher, again, do not worry about it a lot. Okay. Style components. Styled components, I generally prefer styled components. Why? Because first of all, it gives me all the functionality that SCSS or CSS gives me, but it gives me an additional functionality that I can create dynamic style using styled components. I can pass a React prop to it, and I can dynamically generate a styling or a CSS. So that is why I prefer to use styled components. Okay. So these are some of the important things, okay, that you can talk about. Again, you can like add more topics, any other Node framework that you will use, okay, Node.js package that you will use. You can talk about that. Why will you use it? Okay. You can talk about whether you will use Babel, Webpack, anything, any other package that you will use. You can talk about that if you have to. Okay. In a basic application, I think this much is enough. So let's only focus on these things. Okay. So whatever we are choosing, we should give a proper reason for it. That why am I choosing this technology? Okay. Sir, I have a question. Raja Babu, please go ahead, type your question in the chat. Okay. Does that mean that pay of Vue is higher than React developer? Why? I don't know. How did you come to that conclusion? Okay. I never said that, and that is not the true. Why would the pay of Vue.js developers would be more than React? Okay. So mostly the pay is similar for all of these frameworks because ultimately it is only JavaScript. Okay. But since whatever is the most popular, okay, the demand is more for that. So if React is the most popular, the demand is more for React. So obviously the salary also would be, if not, either the salary of React developers would be more or equal. It would never be less. Okay. जिसका demand ज़्यादा है उसका price भी ज़्यादा होगा, right? Cool. So I hope you are clear until here. So we have talked about what are the technologies that we will use on the front end and why we will use that. You can also add a store middleware, whether you want to use any middleware like Redux Saga or Redux Thunk or not. Mostly both of them are similar, so you can decide to use any one of them, or you can not use this also. Other thing is you can use about any styling library, any CSS library that you want to use. For example, do you want to use Bootstrap or Tailwind, okay, or Material, whether you want to use all of these or not. So what is the advantage of using these two, any one of these? I generally prefer either Bootstrap or Tailwind, okay. What is the advantage? Advantage is that if you want to develop a good looking application in small time, then it is better to use these applications, these libraries. Okay. So they have a lot of components already built, so you can directly use that component. Okay. So all of them are good actually. I should. So if they have, for example, you want to create a modal or you want to create a drop down. So these are already created in these libraries. You can directly use them. Okay. So what are the advantages? They have good styling options. Okay. They have some components are already created, which can directly be used. Good for responsive CSS, responsive styling for different devices. Okay. Predefined classes for responsive CSS for different devices. So they have a lot of advantages, right? Which we could use. Cool. So that these are the advantages, and we can use any of these, whatever you like. Okay. Okay. Can we learn this language under a month? So these are a lot of technologies, right? And most of this, if you're a Geekster student, you would have already read HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React, right? If you have not read about Redux and these libraries, I think Bootstrap also you would have learned in Geekster. Okay. If you are not a Geekster student, you can, like, I would advise you to join Geekster and you can learn about these technologies. Or what you can do is you can again like self-learn these things on different platforms. Okay. How much time are required to learn these things? If you are learning from the scratch, if you have not learned anything, if you don't even know HTML, then learning all these things from scratch will take you at least 4 to 6 months. Okay. If you are a Geekster student and you have already completed most of these things in class, you might only want to know about 1 or 2 different things, which will take you about 1.5 months. Okay. Bootstrap is for Java users. Bootstrap is used on the front end. Java is used on the back end. So Bootstrap and Java are not related. Cool. Yeah, with the word file, I will share everybody. I will share the word file with all of you later in the class. Cool. So we have talked about the tech choices and the frameworks and the tech stack. Okay. So I hope until here everybody is clear. Okay. So we have talked about the tech choices, what all tech choices we will make. Okay. So 3 things we are clear about. Next, we need to talk about the component architecture. Okay. So what is the component architecture, everyone? Okay. The component architecture means what all components will you create? What all components will you create? Okay. Talk about the main components. Okay. Talk about how will you share data between these components. Okay. Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example. Let's go back, okay, to what we were discussing. Cool. So if you see Amazon or Flipkart.com, okay, so Flipkart.com has this header. Okay. The header actually is one component. Then there is a slider which has these offers. It is one component. Then there is this section of current offers. This is one component. Okay. Then there is a footer which has these different links. This is another component, right? So all of these things are different components. Okay. So for example for Flipkart, okay, the header, the navigation bar, the image slider, okay, the offers, the footer, these are different components. Okay. Similarly, if you come to a product list page, okay, Suppose you go to fashion t-shirts. Okay. So this is the product list. Okay. So in the product list, what all do you see? So suppose in the product list page, you see header and navigation bar. यहाँ पे भी है देखो यही same header and navigation bar are here also. So these two are common. Then you see a list of products. You see a filter option. You see a pagination option, right? So there are so many things on this. This is the filter, right? Here you see a pagination, 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. Okay. Here again you see the footer. Cool. So these are basically the different components that you will create. Okay. And then you can talk about data sharing between these components. Okay. Example using Redux, or there is something called context APIs in React. So you can use any of them, or React props and state, or context APIs in React. So you can use any of these, okay, for React, sorry, for data sharing. Okay. So this is basically your component architecture. So when you are telling all of these things, try to draw it. Okay. So I will have this component, this component, this component. Try to draw it properly. Okay. I am not drawing in the interest of time, but you can draw it like this, that, okay, I will have a top header component, then I will have a navigation bar component. Then on the left side, I will have a filter component. Okay, you don't have to draw everything inside it. Just draw the outline. Okay, just draw a rectangle. Okay, this is a component. Cool. So this way, we have completed the component architecture part also. Now let's talk about the folder structure. Like, what are the folder structure that we will have? Okay. So again, there are multiple folder structures that are used across in the industry. Okay. Many of them are very, very common. Cool. So the folder structure or the convention that we should use. Okay. So there are multiple ways of creating your folders. Okay. One way is that, you create different folders for different things. Okay. For example, you create one folder for APIs. Okay. All the API related call will be here. One folder for styles. All the CSS related code will be here. One folder for the components. All the components will be here. Okay. One folder for all the helper functions will be here. Okay. One folder for if you have a Redux, okay, so any Redux store will be here. Okay. Any store reducer will be here. Okay. Any actions will be here. So this is one way to do it. Okay. And this is also used in many companies. But one problem that is there with this approach is that, suppose you are designing a product list page. Okay. So one problem is that you will have to create the APIs in this folder for one feature, product list. You will create one file in this folder, 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 one file here, one file here, one file here. So in a real time, you will have to create different files in different folder. If you have to make a small change, you will have to find that folder in a big code base, because in a big companies, there are like thousands of files, right? So finding a file like this becomes very, very difficult. Okay. So what is the second way of creating your folder structure, which I generally use? I generally divide applications by their features. Okay, so I have a features folder. Okay. Now inside features, I will have a home page. Similarly, I will have a product list page, suppose product list. Okay. Similarly, I can have a cart page. Similarly, I can have a user profile. Okay. So the different features that I have in my website, orders, okay, addresses. So these are the different features that I have, right? These are all my file, all the different features. Now within home, I will have all of these. So all the APIs of home will be inside home and APIs. Okay. All the so home के जितने भी APIs होंगे, home की styling, home के component, home के helper, ये सब इसके अंदर होंगे. Okay. Product list का जो भी होगा वो सब इसके अंदर होगा. Okay. Similarly, cart के जितने भी होंगे वो सब इसके अंदर होंगे. So what do we have now is that for one feature, okay, all the files related to home are in the home folder. All the files related to product list are in this folder. All the files related to cart are in this folder. So if I want to add a new functionality, मान लो मुझे coupons की एक नई functionality add करनी है, then it will be very simple for me. I will just create a new folder called coupons. Okay. And I will add these files inside it. So it will be simple. I don't have to go into every folder and do that. Similarly, if I want to make a small change in address, I will just go in the address folder. Okay. And I will do the same thing here. Do you all get this? So this is how I generally prefer to have my folders. Okay. So all my files and folders are in this convention. I followed this technique. Everybody gets this? Yes or no, thumbs up, please reply in the comments. What about others? Cool. Some more additional tips that you should convey to the interviewer is that you will have standard folder names. Okay. Folder name, like many people, I see if it is product list, people write products hyphen list, or people write products list in camel case, or people write products list in Pascal case. Okay. So any of these use, but agar if you are using this way, make sure that you use this way everywhere. ये नहीं एक फोल्डर ऐसे बना दिया, एक फोल्डर ऐसे बना दिया. Don't do these things. Okay. So make sure that you know this and you are communicating this thing to the interviewer. Remember, we are doing this to clear the interview, right? So whatever knowledge you have, you should convey it properly to the interviewer. Okay, everybody is with me here. Just give me a minute, okay? Cool. So by this, we have completed our next topic. Folder structure and conventions we have talked about. Now we'll talk about the APIs. Okay. We are going to end the class in about 10 minutes, everyone. So now we'll talk about APIs. Okay. So what are the APIs that you need to create this application? Okay. What are the APIs that you need and why do you need them? Okay. So we'll talk about these things. Cool. APIs as in, again, when you come here in Flipkart, okay, so what are the APIs that you need? So first of all, you need an API to get the offers running currently. Okay, this is one API. Then you need an API to log in the user. Okay, then you need an API to create a new user. Okay, then you need an API to uh, get the list of products. Okay, then API to get list of products. See, when we search in Flipkart, if we search for something, like if we search for t-shirt, so it gives me the result of only t-shirt. So basically I need an API to get list of products based on search and filters. If I filter it by the brand, say if I filter by any brand, suppose I filter by Levi's, okay, so it will only show me filters or products of Levi's brand, right? So it is giving me the list of products based on search and filters. Okay. Similarly, we also have a pagination here. I can go to page 3, it will show me different products. So search, filters, and page numbers. Okay. All of these things it should support. Similarly, there is a sorting option also here. So I can sort by price. Price high to low, it will show me the most expensive t-shirt. So I should also add sorting options of products. Okay. Next is API to add a product to cart. If I like this product, I should go here and I should add to cart. If I click, first I will select the size and then I will do add to cart. Okay, so see, it is added to the cart now. API to get, select size or color and add a product to cart, right? Next is to place an order. So what do we need? To API to enter a new, to get list of all address. जितने भी addresses user के पहले से stored है वो आ जाए, ठीक है? API to edit or delete address. API to add new address. ठीक है? What else? API to select mode of payment. And then API to place an order. Okay. So these are the APIs that we need from the backend. Okay. And from the front end, we will only call them. Okay. Now, again, in every API, you might not have so much time to talk about every API. So then talk about what is the API. So here you have to get some data. So it will be a get API. Okay. So what are the data that you need? So you need offers. So basically you need an array of offers, right? That is the data that you need, right? So similarly, for every API, what you need to do is list down all APIs that you need. Okay. For every API, talk about this is the step 1. This is the step 2. For every API, talk about API method, whether it is a get method, post method, put method, or a delete method. Okay. Then talk about the input that you will give to the APIs. Suppose you want, we talked about that, okay, we want the products for this particular brand. So I need to send which brand, then it will give me the data for that brand, right? So input, the brand will be an input. Similarly, page number would be an input, right? If I want to search t-shirt, then t-shirt will be an input. The out talk about the output and their structure. Okay. Then I want the list of products में क्या क्या डिटेल चाहिए मुझे, प्रोडक्ट का नाम चाहिए, प्रोडक्ट का ब्रांड चाहिए, प्रोडक्ट की आईडी चाहिए, प्रोडक्ट की प्राइस चाहिए, प्रोडक्ट का ओरिजिनल प्राइस कुछ और हो सकता है बट डिस्काउंटेड प्राइस कुछ और हो सकता है, प्रोडक्ट का कलर चाहिए, साइज चाहिए, right? So these are the information that I need for every product. So talk about that. Okay. So talk about these three things for every API. Okay. And you can also talk about any validation needed. Okay. Any validation needed in the API. Okay. This is not important for frontend, so you can ignore this also. But these are what we need to do in an APIs. Okay. Does that make sense, everyone? Please give me a thumbs up, yes or no. Okay. The last part is low-level implementation. Okay. What are the low-level implementation? Okay. For example, the interviewer wants to know that, okay, now we don't have so much time left. So tell me about this page. How will you implement this product list page? Because on this page, you have so many things, right? You have a list of so many products. Okay. You may have 1 lakh products on the page. So how will you show 1 lakh products? So you will say that, no, I won't show 1 lakh product. I will use a pagination. Here you have a pagination, right? We only show some 30 products on one page. And then if the user wants to see more, you will have to click on a next page. Okay. So this is what a pagination is. Or in some website, you will have seen that whenever you scroll to the bottom, automatically it searches for next 30 products. So automatically it will load next 30. Again, you go to the bottom, automatically it will go to next 30. Okay. So this is called automatic pagination or infinite scrolling. Okay. So you can tell the interviewer that you will implement either pagination or infinite scrolling on the page. Okay. Similarly, the interviewer can ask you that, okay, what will be the components on this page? So you can say that, okay, we'll have a header here, we will have a product list here, we will have a filters on the left, we will have a footer at the bottom, we'll have a sorting option at the top, we will have these breadcrumbs at the top. Then he will ask you, if you see, I told that filters is one other component and the product list is another component. So how it is happening that if I change the filter, the list is also changing. This is one component, this is another component, right? But if I make change on the left side, the right side is changing. How is that happening? How will you do that? So then you need to make use of some of the concepts. Okay, so you can use a data store here that, okay, you can say that when I change anything on the left side, I will change the data in the Redux store and the Redux store will change the data on the right side component. Or I will trigger an event so that the parent component changes and the parent will change its child, whatever you want, the way you want to implement it. So it's not necessary that one question will have only one solution. Usually one question can have multiple solutions. Okay. You have to think about which is a better solution in your case. Okay. And why. You should give a good reply, a logical reply on why this one is better. Why I think data storage is better. Okay. In this case, you will see that if I change something, okay, see here the URL is also changing. You can also say that I will make everything URL driven. Okay. So URL is changing. So that's why everything is changing. So that if I click on back button, it will take me to the previous data. Okay. So you can say all these logical reasons. URL driven क्यों? क्योंकि URL से मैं फिर back और forward भी काम करेगा. Okay, so this is lower level implementation. The interviewer is focusing on only this particular part. Or suppose the interviewer says that how will you implement the cart? How will you implement these things, save for later, remove? How will you implement the coupon code? So if you, this is basically low level part. So only focus, only talk about that part. How will you implement it? What components you will create? How will the component share data? Okay. What events you will have on click event, on change event, what events you will have. Okay. How will you handle these events? Whether these are synchronous event or asynchronous event. Okay. If it is asynchronous, what you are doing? What is the API call that you are making? Okay. If there are a lot of data, how you are handling that data? All of these things come under this part, the low level implementation part. Okay. I hope until here it is clear to everyone. Okay. So in the low level implementation, interviewer will ask you, interviewer asks implementation details of one particular section. Okay. Talk about all components that you will make in that section. Okay. Talk about all the all components that you'll make in that section. Cool. Talk about data sharing between components. Talk about performance and scalability in that section. Okay. Talk about APIs required for that part. Talk about events that you will have. Okay. So just give more details about that. Okay. Now, once this is done, we have completed the most important part of the application. Okay. The major part of the interview, you won't have time until now. Until now, you would have already spent 45-50 minutes. But still, in some cases, the interviewer likes interacting with you, or they have some time. They want to talk more about it. They want to judge you more. So then they can go on. So you can tell the interviewer that if you want, I can talk more about other things. Okay. So then you can talk about other aspects of the application. Okay. Like performance improvement. Okay. So what is performance improvement means? How can you make your application faster, more scalable, okay, more available, all these things? How can you improve these things? Okay. So there are many things that you can do in performance improvement. Okay. That is not only one small thing. There are actually many things. Okay. But you should focus on some important things, like how will you create components and maintain the state between them. Okay. Next, you could talk about what is lazy loading. So learn about lazy loading and code splitting. Okay. Learn about pagination and infinite scrolling. Okay. Learn about what is server side rendering and client side rendering. Okay. Then other things that you could explore apart from these is how else can you explore, improve the performance of your application. Okay. So how will you reduce the load time of your application? Okay. Then you can also discover other things. Cool. Like the load time of your application could also be done in many ways. Okay. So you can explore that as well. Okay. Then there are many things in React. Okay. So how will you use React hooks and lifecycle methods to improve the performance? Okay, so there are many things like this. Okay, so uh, so you can explore these things. Okay, one by one. There are many things actually. Cool. Let me talk about, since I have less time, we will have another session only for performance improvement later on. Okay, so I'll have a separate session for it. We can talk about security. Okay, that what is security in an application. Okay, so security as in on the front end side, how can you improve the security of the application? So I will request you, I'm just writing down the things that you can explore. Okay, explore what are XSS attacks, that is very important. Okay, and how can you avoid them? Okay, uh, explore what is cross domain resource sharing or CORS. Okay, explore what is authentication and authorization. Okay, so just explore about these three things. Cool. And explore about what is CSRF tokens. Okay, so I think these are mostly it. On the front end, as I said, there are not many things on the security side. Cool. Let's talk about accessibility. So again, as I mentioned, accessibility means how people with differently able abilities can use your website easily. Okay, so read about these things. How to make your website keyboard, your app keyboard accessible. Okay, so that it could be used by arrow keys, enter key, escape key, okay, space, tabs. How to improve the color scheme of your website for color blind people. Okay, so color blind people cannot differentiate between few colors. So suppose if they cannot differentiate between red and green or red and blue, for example, okay, I'm not I'm not sure about it. So if they cannot differentiate, if you have something, if you have the background in red and text in green, they will not be able to differentiate which part is red, which part is green, right? So how can you improve that? Okay, how to improve uh, app for screen readers, which is for partially blind or blind people. Okay, so explore about alt keywords, explore about area labels, alt attributes, not keywords. Okay. Um, how to, if even if some people cannot see your website in such small text, they want to zoom in and see properly. So if they zoom in, it should not break your website. So how to make your app proper even with zooming in. Cool. So these are important aspects of accessibility. So you can read about it more and you can explore it. Cool. Next is logging and monitoring. How will you add logs in your system? Okay. So for the logging and monitoring is, how will you add logs to your system? First is how will you reduce errors and bugs? Okay. Next is how will you log them? Okay. So there are many applications, like there is something called Sentry. Okay. That's something called Cora Logics, where you can push these. Okay. And you can see them that, okay, what are the errors that I got in my site yesterday? So you will get all these logs on Sentry. So explore these platforms. Okay. How will you create alerts Okay, so you can use Slack alerts, email alerts, or you can use platforms like Datadog, Splunk, PagerDuty. These are widely used in the industry. Okay. So just learn about these things. Okay. So basically, these are used uh, for entering any issues in your application. You can use them. Okay. And finally, how will you test your application? Okay. So explore how to use unit testing and how to use automation testing. Okay. There are many different uh, again libraries for unit testing. You can use Jest. Okay. You can use Karma. Many of these are there. For automation testing, you can use Cypress. You can use Selenium. There are many libraries like this again, which you can explore. Okay. So if you don't know about these things, okay, if you have some idea, say that you will learn more and implement it. If you don't know anything at all, do not bluff with the interviewer. Okay. So these are all the things that you should cover in a front-end system design interview. Okay. Does it make sense, everyone? Does it make sense until here, everybody? Yes or no? Are you with me? Cool. Before ending this session, everybody who is not a Geekster student, if you want to learn like a pro, if you want to get a guaranteed high-paying tech job, I would suggest you visit geekster.in, our website. This is our website. Okay. It will give you all the information about our placement rate, about our average salary, about our highest salary. What do we do? So we teach you. We have industry experts, teachers who will teach you. Okay, the courses are mostly full stack web development courses. Okay, we will teach you in between 4 to 8 months, and we will teach you completely full stack in different technologies. Okay, so we will teach you if you want to do backend in Node.js or Java. In front end, we'll teach you React. And then we have tie-ups with a lot of other companies. We have a tie-up with 300 plus companies where many of our students have already got placed. Okay, so you can read about these things on our website. Okay, and you can explore Geekster even more. Okay, we have we also have the best part is that it is a completely free program until you get a job. So we have two payment options. Either you pay after placement, so you don't have to pay a single rupee before you get placed. Okay. Or you can pay the upfront fees right now. And if you by chance, by any case, worst to worst case, if you don't get a job of what we have committed, you don't have to pay anything. Also, if you pay upfront, the fees is much lower than about 50% lower. Okay. So go to our courses, explore full stack web development. You will find every details of the classes here. Okay. What do? We have interview preparation. So live online classes, soft skill training, personal mentoring, interview preparation, and referral to top companies. This is our 360-degree plan for you. Okay. What are the skills and curriculum that we cover? Everything you can get over here in Java plus DSA, in web fundamentals, in MERN stack. Okay. Who are your mentors and educators? So you can see here we have Rajneesh from Google. I am here from Zomato. For my previous company, actually, it's Coinbase now. So all these people are here. Who are your mentors, right? So all these people are here. Who will be your student success mentor, your associate? So you have everything about the course here. So I would request you to go and explore our website and learn more about the course. Okay. So this is the link to the website here. I am posting this in the chat. Okay. And apart from this, I am also sharing the link of this PPT that we discussed right now. Cool. So just give me a minute. I will be sharing this link with you. Suraj, if you are there, please start sharing this doc in the chat itself. I've shared the links with you. Working professional can join this course. Yes, definitely. The course is for working professionals. Okay. If you all see here, I have posted the link. Okay, I have posted the link and I have updated the permission also. So now start opening the links, everyone. You should be able to you should be able to open it. Okay. Cool. So everybody, the docs are there in the chat, and we will also add these docs in the session comments, in the YouTube description. Okay. Refresh. I have given the access. Please refresh the page. I've given the access. Refresh the page, everyone. Okay. Any coupons? No, sorry, no coupons. Reach out to the team and they will help you out with everything. Okay. Working professional can join this course. Yes, everybody can join this course. I want to enroll in front-end developer course. So please guide me. So Abhishek, please go to the website and you will find all the details about the course there. Okay. I got confused with Spring Boot and Bootstrap. Okay, no worries. Cool, everyone. So that is it from my side. Thanks a lot for your time. Any other questions you can write in the chat right now and we will answer it later on. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Please give us feedback of this session. How did you find the session? Was it knowledgeable? Was it informative? Did you learn something new? Please write this in the chat. Okay. And please go on to www.geekster.in and get more information about Geekster. Cool. Thank you for being this lovely audience. Thank you for your time. Have a good weekend. Good night, everyone.